evening, and good night, friends and colleagues from all across the world. Today we are on our 33rd day of the marathon of webinars that we bring to our colleagues in a peer-to-peer fashion. We have over 150 doctors currently working on this project around the clock. And today's we have some special guests for you in the next 2 weeks to come. And particularly today, we have a person that's known as America's top dental consultant, Dr. Bill Blatchford, who is hosted by Dr. Kevan Javid, one of our regents. And he will be talking to you about a lot of ways you can lower your overhead and increase your net income. We continue to, gentlemen, thank you for joining us, first and foremost.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Bill, do you have... Yeah, Bill's got the audio. That's great. So I podcasted Bill about a month ago, and the things that I've learned were absolutely amazing. And I encourage you guys to listen very closely to what Bill has to say. Again, with that said, Dr. Javid, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Global Interdisciplinary Summit, where 100 top doctors from all around the world come together and share their knowledge with their colleagues. Today, our special guest is Dr. Bill Blatchford. Dr. Bill Blatchford is one of the strongest voices in dentistry today for profitability, with special emphasis on lifestyle. He's a dentist advocate for more net return, more time away, and increased enjoyment of life. He practiced dentistry for 20 years in Corvallis, Oregon, following graduation from Loyola Dental School. He has helped thousands of doctors to achieve practice success and stay in the game. In his custom coaching program, Dr. Blatchford works personally with doctor, spouse, and team to achieve their dream practice. Dr. Blatchford is the author of the Dentist's Mighty Guidebook, Playing Your A Game, and Blatchford Blueprints. With his daughter, Dr. Christina, he has written No Nonsense Transitions and Bringing Your A Game 2.0. He also produces the popular weekly video series Mornings with Blatchford. He and his wife, Caroline, are celebrating 50 years of married life. Their daughter, Christina, is a practicing dentist, Blatchford's coach, and now CEO of Blatchford Solutions. The younger daughter earned a degree in education and works for Blatchford Solutions. The Blatchfords emphasize life is a banquet, and they participate in traveling the world, flying, boating, diving, skiing, hunting, fishing, and cycling. Currently, Blatchford Solutions coaches approximately 50 dentists per year to enjoy a new level of success in their life and the practice. Welcome, Dr. Blatchford.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It's an honor to have you.
Well, I think what we want to do today is we want to talk about this post-COVID, and that's affected doctors all over the world. And what I want to do is share with you some systems that I think need to be updated a little bit. Now, the thing about this is these are systems that we have taught for years. But I think with the post-COVID and what we're going to have to change, and as we go through this, you're going to see several of these systems that are going to be mandated, I believe, by protocol for infection control, etc. And we're going to go through some of these and talk about this. And I am anxious to get dental offices reopened. And I know for this particular presentation, we actually have doctors from all over the world. So it's a little bit different in different parts of the world, but I'm talking, and my best knowledge is right here in the United States. Now, over the years, I have lectured all over the world. I mean, I've lectured as far east as Dubai. Of course, I spent a lot of time in England. I was going to England once a month, or every other month, excuse me, for several years, working with doctors there to help them come out of the nationalized health service, to help them become more fee-for-service dentist and more into the cosmetic reconstruction there. I've lectured as far, I guess it depends which direction you go when you leave here, but I've lectured in India as far, I would say, as far west as India, leaving that's the direction we flew. But But what I'm going to be talking about today is how do we reopen our practices and help the public understand that it's safe to go to a dentist. And then we're going to have to take a look at updating some of our systems. We're going to be talking about some of these systems. By the way, here's a picture of myself. I don't do much dentistry anymore. This happened to be on a mission trip in Haiti, and this little girl took a liking to me. And you can see I'm using real high-tech equipment there, my camping headlight. But this is my daughter, Christina, and I. This was on the Profitable Dentist, Dental Town, etc. So I think the biggest thing that's going to have to take place is doctors. You are the leader in your practice. You're leaders in your community. And I think one of the things that's going to be important is with your patients and your team, no whining. No whining about what it's done. No whining. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you've been shut down for 2 months. Nobody cares that you have had no income for 2 months. Nobody cares that you have to put different things for personal protection equipment in place. So I want to remind you, no whining about this. It's what it is. Embrace it, and let's move on. Now, that is so important because your team, your staff is going to follow your lead, and so are your patients. And if you're whining about it, that's what they'll be doing. So there's your first tip, no whining. Now, let's bring the fun back into it and remember why you became a dentist in the first place. And again, it's all about this. And one of the things that I talk constantly, and I just finished a 2-day webinar for our clients. We had about 450 people on this, which was all on. We were a different platform, and we did this in a studio. But the thing that I pointed out to these doctors is, you can choose whining, you can choose low stress, or you can choose to enjoy it. And that's what I want you to do, is just simply choose to have fun at it again. And I want you to express your passion. I want you to start to express your passion again, why you became a dentist in the first place, why you love this, why it is. And so I think that's really critical. And again, your team will follow this. Now, I'm going to share something with you today that I think will be useful to you in getting started again, and it's our system analyzer. And you can get this, you can download this from the websites there at the bottom of the page, blatchford.com/systems. But we're going to talk today about all these systems, and I'm actually have you, as I go through this, I would like you to put a number on each system. Now, we're not going to talk about all the little breakdowns, all the little systems here, but the main systems, put a number from 1 to 10 on your system. 10 being it's really good, and 1 would be it's not so good. And what you can do from this, you just take a look and you can see. Now, I am going to spend some time on sales systems today, and collection systems, and profitability, a little bit on scheduling, not much on marketing. I'm not going to do that. And the reason I'm not is that, remember, we've been shut down for 2 months. You will have a backlog of patients who want to come in. And I went in to have my teeth cleaned the other day, and they related to me that it was one of my clients here close to where I live. And they put out one text message, and they literally were swamped with phone calls of people trying to get in. And we've had several doctors. I'm going to share some things with you on how to do some teleseminars to do consultations for patients. And one of our clients, following our lead on this the other day, collected $85,000 one day doing conferences via Zoom with patients seeking treatment. And we're going to cover that, how to do that, and we're going to talk about collections, and I'm going to show you some things about profitability. So there we go. So let's jump into the first one. In today's marketplace, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I'm going to point something out to you. An internal referral, and if you look down at the bottom here, halfway across, it says internal marketing system, patient referral system, doctor referral system, and those systems are really important. And the reason is an internal referral, and we've studied this in dentistry, we've studied in other industries, but an internal referral is worth 2.5 times what an external referral is. So you can have all the Google review systems and all the different media things you do, and they all work. They all do work. However, an internal referral is worth 2.5 times as much. Now, one of the things that we've done over the years is we have developed the ROI tracking system, and it's a real simple system. If you can visualize a Excel spreadsheet, and we list every patient by name in the first column. In the second column, we list how much they spent in the last 12 months. And the third column is simply a running total. And what we can do, you see, is we can find out where that, I forgot a column, is where that patient came from, is where that patient came from. And then you can see where your leads are coming from and who's spending money. You see, it's not just a matter of tracking how many phone calls you get. We can track the phone calls. We can list the item of marketing, track the number of phone calls. We can also track the number of consultation appointments made, and then the dollar amount that they spent. So you see, you can start to study this. And if you're going to do and spend money on marketing, it's very important to do this. But an internal system, and one of the things that we do is we simply set up an accountability system with team for asking for referrals. And I think during this post-COVID, this is going to become very important. And it's important for the team to get this, not just the doctor. So we're going to work on two systems. One is the internal marketing system, and then the ROI tracking system. And those two are going to have to be really important to you. And part of that is just the level of service that you provide to patients and showing people how you're really doing this. Now, I'm going to suggest something in marketing that you can all do. I would make a video. Several of our clients have made videos at our direction, and they have made a video welcoming the patients back to their offices. And they're very informally done. One doctor did it. He's being videotaped. As he walks up to his office, he folds his umbrella and he turns around and says, introduces himself, and we are so excited. We've been spending our time getting ready for this moment to reopen our offices. And we have added some, while we have always been very mindful and very careful about infectious disease control, we have added some additional precautions to protect you. And so we welcome you back. Another doctor just stood in front of the office and did it. One did it inside the reception area. But make a video to send out you can send it out via Facebook, via the internet, different platforms. You can put it on Instagram, whatever you do, but get that video out to your patients. You can also simply email that video, should be more 3 minutes. Email that out to each of your patients that you have their email addresses. And that's just a great invitation to come back to the office. So please do that. Get that out to your patients. Okay, we're going to spend some time today on the sales systems. Now, here's the thing. First off, my approach to sales, dental sales, is that really nothing we do is needed. That's a big paradigm shift. Nothing we do is needed. As a matter of fact, people don't even need their teeth. And so that's something that you want to start with. Now, here's the interesting thing. We're actually going to work with the teams, and this is what we do, what I was doing all day yesterday, working with scripted sales systems. Now, we don't want you to sound scripted, so you have to practice so you don't sound scripted, but you have to cover certain points. And we have a number of questions we ask patients, and it generally starts out something to the effect, hey, doc, what do I need? And if you start with, you don't need anything, you don't even need your teeth, what happens is the resistance goes away, and people actually start sharing with you what they want. And that's the key. And so we're going to teach these systems to teams. Very simple. We start with, how can I help you? You've heard that question before, but people will start sharing with you what they want. Now, here's something that I think is happening, and we've already seen it. We've had several of our clients starting to do this. I believe in this post-COVID time, I believe it's going to allow us to have perhaps Zoom conferences with our patients. And what would be better than to have a new patient interview with the doctor from the comfort of their own home. And we have a good series of questions we start to ask. And you see, our whole thing on case presentation and sales, and I call it sales, and some of you may not be comfortable with that because you've been taught to say that, well, dentists don't sell anything. That is true. The American public spends more on dog food than they do on dentistry. So I guess we can validate the fact that we don't sell. But we've got a great product, a great service. I mean, we literally can change someone's life. And you've all done this. You've all done this. And sometimes I don't think you appreciate what you do for patients. We tend to focus on the little teeny tiny pieces of porcelain. But those are life-changing to people. Those are life-changing to people. And if you take people that are embarrassed about their smile, and they turn very inward, they become very introverted. They don't smile much. They don't. Photographs are taken. They don't smile. And your little pieces of porcelain can literally change people's lives. And I think sometimes we focus too much on the technical side. We focus too much on the technique that we use, the materials we use, and not enough time on what did we really do for that patient. Now, if you take that back to the sales conversations you have with patients, you see, how can I help you? And they will tell you, what they're interested in. You have to start with a premise. If a patient has called you, this is a premise, and this is a shift, I think. So many dental team members I talk to, they believe that patients don't want anything. And my premise has always been, when my wife and I go to a restaurant, it's probably a given that we'd like something to eat. If I go into a car dealership, I'm probably interested in a new car. If I go into a clothing shop, I'm probably interested in buying some clothes. So you see, when a patient calls a dental office, they're interested in something that we do, dental services. They're interested in that. They've already made a decision to spend some money on dental services, or they wouldn't be here. And I think that's an important point for you to think about. So when you start, how can I help you? They will start telling you different things. And then one of the things that I think is critical here is not to assume you know what they're talking about. Ask questions for clarification. And then you want to find out, how long has this been a problem for them? When do they think about this? When does it affect you? How does it affect you? These are all questions that you want to start asking. How long has it been a problem? When did you first notice it? What have you tried so far? How did that work? Have you tried anything else? And how did that work? And anything else? And you will literally get people to starting to say that, I don't smile much, or something to that effect. And how's that working for you? How would this affect your life if we could give you this beautiful smile? I mean, these are all questions that you want to ask. Another question that I love to put into this conversation is, have you considered a budget for this treatment? Have you considered a budget? And this is a question that so many dentists and so many staff members are so afraid to ask. And so we postpone that conversation about money until the end. And it's very often the money is brought up in the final 5 minutes of the last time you ever see the patient. And the reason is because you didn't qualify your patient before you started this. And so, and then of course, once you find out what their budget is, and you explain to them that we could do it, it would be roughly this much money. And then the last question is, what would you like to do next? Now, if they're still in the game, they're still interested, well, then we'll go ahead and do our complete exam. But we're not doing that complete exam until we have this conversation with patients. And I think this is a large departure for many of you, because you want to do the complete exam and then tell the patient, well, I don't really get involved in the money. You'll have to talk to people at the front about that. And it doesn't, that technique, that method does not instill the confidence in the patient that when you're able to talk frankly about the money. Now, I want you to think about this. If you or I go in to buy something, we want to know a couple things. Will this product, or this, whatever it is, will this give me what I'm looking for? And secondly, the second question comes up every time, how much does this cost? And I want you to understand, until you have address that, there is no decision until you've addressed how much will this cost. And I'm talking in general terms. I mean, you're all experienced dentists. You can look in someone's mouth. You can count the number of teeth that are going to have to be restored. You can see if there's perio treatment that has to be done. You can, you can make a pretty good estimation what it's going to cost. You multiply that by your crown and bridge fee, add 25%, and that's a pretty close estimate. And do we have the details at this point? No, we don't have the details at this point. But here's a quote I want you to think about. If you and I are going to do business, we'll work out the details. And if we're not going to do business, the details don't matter. And yet what I find so often, and I think in traditional case presentation with dentistry, is that we spend so much time on the details that the patient hasn't made that decision yet. And I think that's just wasted time. Something I'd like to share with you. It's not in one of these systems, but my wife and I have a term that we use. We've been married 53 years. We are 77 years old. We plan to live to 106, so we've got another 29 years left of our life. But we start talking about a phrase, the letters QTR. And that stands for quality time remaining. Now, I want you to think about this in the context of what I'm talking about with dental exams. We could spend an hour or more on a complete examination for every patient. We could then spend an hour of our free time working up a detailed treatment plan, and then have the patient come back in and talk to them about the 3 types of treatment we can do, all that sort of thing. And we could very easily spend 3 hours on this patient. Or I can find out what they want. I can give them a ballpark estimate of what it would cost to take care of this and find out if they're interested. If they're interested at that point, I will go ahead and do a complete exam, get all the records I need and all that sort of thing, and work up a detailed treatment plan. But I'm not going to work up a detailed treatment plan until I have some indication, and that indication would be probably a deposit. At which point, I'm happy to work up a detailed treatment plan for that patient, which may involve getting other specialists involved, etc. But I'm not going to spend that time on every patient unless I have some indication that we're moving forward. And that's a little bit of a departure from what most dentists are doing. Now, in our offices that we work with, we train the entire team how to have this conversation. So it's not just the doctor, because you see, it literally starts on the phone. It literally starts on the phone. The patient comes in, or maybe we do it by video. I'm really starting to think this video conference may become more and more popular, and I can really see it working. And when these doctors that I've talked to, I talked to several doctors this week that have been doing it since we recommended it. They're still closed. Their offices are closed. They can't see patients yet in some states, and yet they're able to take deposits for treatment on large cases. As I mentioned, one doctor collected $85,000 last week on a couple patients that they were kind of backlogged. They wanted to go ahead with treatment, and the office was closed, but he got together with them on a Zoom conference and was able to do that. And so, I think that's going to lead into that. But we're going to train everybody how to do this. The other thing that we do that really makes a difference, I think, is we put the team on a bonus system based on the collection number of the office, and that's such an incredible incentive. It's just absolutely amazing what that does. And now, in talking about this, I will mention that I'm never suggesting any treatment that we wouldn't do for our own family. However, I think that sometimes I look at dentists, families, and spouses, and sometimes their dentistry is not all that great. But I think that we need to present ideal treatment to patients and let them choose. So I think that's something that's really critical. Now, we can help you a lot with collection systems. Now, collections, again, it's the bonus system is based on collection, so again, it helps. But I think that one of the things that we teach, of course, that I think is important is having daily collection goals. We actually have daily collection goals, and everyone in the office is trained how to collect money. I mean, it's a real simple thing. I do not believe in accounts receivable. I see no reason for a dentist to carry receivables. If you're working with the PPOs and the insurance companies, and many of you are, I understand that. I would love to help you become fee for service. Our biggest producing offices, we have about 200 offices, and I suppose in our active network. And our biggest producing offices are strictly fee for service. We have offices doing, I've got several solo practitioners doing in excess of 3 million, and they are fee for service. I've got some multiple doctor offices doing between 5 and 6 million. They'll have an owner, doctor, and then 2 to 3 associates doing in the between 5 and 6 million, strictly fee for service. In other words, everybody pays the same. As one of my clients quotes, he says, just like the grocery store, everybody pays the same. And this is a whole theme, and we won't go into it today, but I think with the additional expenses you're going to have, with the additional personal protection equipment you're going to be required to use, and I don't really see a huge difference there. I mean, we've always been very cognizant of infectious disease control. I mean, we came back, we came through the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. That disease in the 80s had a 100% mortality rate, and during this crisis, I Googled that. There's only one documented case of a patient getting AIDS in a dental office, and that was done in the state of Florida, and it was done intentionally by a dentist. He was actually convicted of attempted murder. But that's the only documented case. So we've learned to deal with this. But there is a little additional PPE expense. There's going to be, in some areas, they've asked the dentist to slow down a little bit, see less patients, and you'll see why our scheduling system leads itself to that. But I think that efficiency and profitability is going to be more important. We'll get to that in a little bit. So everyone learns how to quote a fee. Now, and when I was speaking yesterday to all these people, there were over 100 offices, and all of their team members were involved, and we had questions about it. And it comes from a team member, actually a hygienist, who, well, how do I don't know my fees? And I said, come on, you only do 4 things. Learn the fees. Well, we've got all these insurance companies. I said, no, a small number of insurance companies control a large majority of your patients. Learn what they will pay, and be able to quote confidently to the patient that, your fee today is $200, and we know that your insurance company will pay about $150 of that. Your portion's $50. I can go ahead and collect that from you. So one of the things that we have done for about 10 years now, this is not new, but I think this is going to be absolutely almost mandatory during post-COVID, is that we start to collect in the treatment rooms. That includes the hygiene room. And if you look at a dental office, and let's say you've got 1 or 2 hygienists seeing a patient every hour, those patients tend to pile up at the front desk to pay or rearrange, make their next appointment. So I've been saying we've been making the next appointment in the treatment room for years. But about 10 years ago, purchasing an Apple computer, and I noticed how you pay at the Apple store. As soon as you select your computer, your phone, whatever, they send for it. And how would you like to pay for that? And which credit card, etc. And they pull out their smartphone, they swipe the card, and you're done. Now the money goes into your account. So we started doing that about 10 years ago in hygiene. Patients absolutely love it. Now, here's what we will say to patients. For your privacy and for your safety, we'll have you go ahead and pay right here in the treatment room today. You don't have to stand at the front counter. And that's so simple. And we just eliminated a whole bunch of steps, you see, by collecting right there in the hygiene room or in the operatory. Now, the other thing that we do is when we get to scheduling, I'm going to show you how to do blocks. And we don't schedule somebody for a 2-hour appointment until we have a substantial deposit on that treatment. Just before this crisis hit, one of our doctors who has a large practice, he's doing about $3.5 million in 2019 for the second year in a row. And that's a solo practitioner. There's no associate in that practice. And very profitable practice. He does a lot of large treatment plans. And everyone that has treatment has paid. In other words, they pay in advance for their treatment. And he had over $500,000 in credit balances. Instead of having accounts receivable, he had credit balance of 500. And I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and no one had asked for a refund of that money. They're all moving forward with that treatment. And so again, that's why I think you've got this backlog of patients who want treatment. All right, so another system I'd like to share with you is our scheduling system. Now, with another consultant who was working in my dental office at the time, we invented block booking, and it's been copied, bastardized by a whole bunch of people, but block booking is really very simple. You start with a couple premises. Number one, I want to provide ideal care for my patients. Number two, I want to do it in a very efficient manner. And I want to be able to sit down and work with a patient without getting up and running all over the office. In other words, I don't want to start, stop, finish. I want to start, finish, stop. And so again, with post-COVID, I think that you're going to have to schedule longer appointments per patient, because once the patient is in the room and you've got the room dirty and your PPB is dirty, why not get some work done? So we really work at this, and this kind of fits like hand in glove with selling larger cases, doing more treatment per appointment. So it's a really simple system. We design a daily goal, and then we want 80% of that goal hit in the morning, and we set aside blocks of time in the mornings. And generally, our clients will start out with a minimum of a 2-hour block and several units of crown and bridge or implant surgery, and no interruption. So what you have to think about here is everybody's got to be working together, which is why everyone's cross-trained on this system. Is in hygiene, we're going to be seeing perio patients where the doctor doesn't have to jump up and go see them, you see. So we're thinking, okay, how do we keep this doctor's hands in a patient's mouth? Now, I want to point out something. And so then we do our major production blocks are in the morning, and then our smaller things are in the afternoon. But, I do want to remind you, we are treating healthy patients. We're not going to be treating the active COVID patient. We are doing verbal screening of these patients, their health history. We're taking their temperature, et cetera. And I think in a short period of time, we will have some very quick acting tests that we can test patients to see if they're active COVID or not. And I think that's coming along soon. And then I think, of course, within a few months, we will probably have developed a vaccine, and this whole problem will go away. I remind you, we went through the AIDS epidemic. We had SARS, we had H1N1. This is not a new crisis. This one got a lot of attention. And I think that a lot was made out of it, locking down the countries. I'm just not sure it was right. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. I look in Europe, I look at Sweden, who did not lock down. They took care of the vulnerable people. They took care of the frail, the infirm, the aged, and everybody else went about their business. And it turns out that they have this lowest per capita death rate in Europe. And so that, I think that's really something. Whereas what we did here is in the United States, our statistics come out of some very populous states, New York, New Jersey. People live on top of each other practically. And then, of course, we had a number of deaths in nursing homes. And so if you just look at statistics, it looks like older people really are very susceptible, but you have to remember that people in nursing homes, for the most part, have some other morbidity factors, or they wouldn't be in a nursing home to start with. So I think the statistics are a little bit skewed, but the block booking is very good. Now, you also notice time off system. See, our belief is that time off, vacation time, is not a reward for hard work. It's preparation to be effective. And what we see is we see people going through 3 stages. You take some time off, you take a week or 2 off and go off on vacation, do something. And traveling will come back. We live in Mexico in the winter and for 3 months, and we were supposed to go to Morocco for 3 weeks this spring. Of course, that trip was canceled, but we left our deposit, we left our money, we'd already paid for the trip. We left it with our guide there. We said we'll just postpone the trip a little bit. So we'll get back to that. But here's the thing. Time off is not a reward for hard work. Time off is preparation for being effective. And so when we come back from a vacation, we divide the time up into three sections. One is the productive phase. And this comes from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. The productive phase, and you're just full of energy and enthusiasm, and you're going, which is where we're all going to be when we come back from this 8 weeks of quarantine. You better go back into the office with a lot of energy. So, and then you do that for a period of time, and then you enter what's a mechanical phase. And it seems to one like you're doing the same things you were doing before, but the juices just aren't flowing. The enthusiasm is not there. And you're maybe operating 80%, but you're not 100%, and that makes a huge difference. And then if you stay there long enough, you actually enter into what we call the burnout phase. And the burnout phase is where you're saying, I really need a break. I need to get out of here. And at that point, you're not doing anything anyway. So when doctors call me and tell me that their production is down, my first question always has been, so when's the last time you had a break? When's the last time you had a vacation? And if I can't remember, oh gosh. So what I say at that point is, doctor, take next week off. You're not doing anything anyway. So, and we're encouraging our doctors. And by the way, this is an important point. Even though you've had these 8 weeks off, we're encouraging our doctors to keep their regular vacation schedule of taking a week off somewhere between every 6 and 8 weeks for the rest of the year. I don't want you to go into what we call that burnout phase. That's not fun. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for your staff, and it's not fun for your patients. So continue to take the same schedule of a break every 6 to 8 weeks. Very important. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about the profitability systems. And I think this is going to be even more important. And it might be important for two reasons. One is you've lost 2 months of production. Secondly, it's very possible that we may have a decrease in production. I don't know what patients are going to do. I saw in the paper this morning that retail sales are down for the quarter 16%. That's significant. That is significant. And if you take a practice that's doing, I'm on a panel at the American Dental Association for financial experts, so-called, and we go to the ADA building in Chicago and spend time on this sort of thing and look at it. And the typical overhead for a general dental practice in the United States is about 75%. In other words, for every dollar, you're spending 75 cents to do it. Now, we know because we are doing it, we can operate a practice between, of some in the 45 range, between 45 and 55%, 60 at most. But if you're at 75%, let's just say that you're doing $1 million in gross collections, but you're spending $750,000 to do it. Remember that every drop in production basically comes out of your net income. Your net is that earnings before interest, taxes, amortization. And that's significant. That means you work for nothing. So we've got to get that overhead down into that magic 50, 55% range, and we can do that. My observation on that, and I have literally looked at thousands of profit and loss statements from dentists, and the big ones are staff's too high, lab too low. Pretty much everything else falls in order. And staff average right now in the United States is over 30% for staff. And that includes all staff costs, not just salaries, but health insurance, matching Social Security, matching 401ks, and all that sort of thing. It's over 32, 34%. We have proven over the years that we can operate a very efficient dental office at 20% for all staff. Now, that includes the administrative staff, the clinical staff, which is the dental assistants, and the hygienists. That number does not include associate dentists. But for the auxiliary staff, we can operate at 20. Well, if we can operate at 20, which we know we can, and we just in this last 2-day seminar we were doing, we had a group of new clients just coming on board. And with them, we were able to I spend a day with each doctor before that seminar, and we do that by Zoom as well. And I was able to show each one of those new doctors how we can, by putting good systems in place, we can operate at 20%. It's less people. And one of the new doctors in this program we just started this week, he's doing 2.4 million, but he's spending, get this, $2 million to do it. Now, which he's got a nice income, $400,000, which is nice income, but it's less than half of what it should be with his amount of work that he's doing. And I was able to show him how we could, and one of the things he wants, of course, he wants more time off. He wants this, and I showed him how we could make twice as much net with a significant decrease in his collections. As a matter of fact, we showed him he can do 400,000 at 2.4, or I showed him how he could net 800 out of 1.6. Now, I don't think he will drop to 1.6, but what if he drops 400,000 down to $1 million? Well, with the system I put in place for him, he will net somewhere very close to $1 million, which is over, well, roughly 2.5 times what he's netting now, doing 2.4. And the big complaint that he said, I've got this wonderful practice I've built over the years, but I feel the entire weight of responsibility on my shoulders. And I said, I understand exactly where you're coming from. So when I showed him how we could do this and by the way, we pay staff the same, we pay them more individually, but we don't need so many people. And just think about how we do this. If we do block scheduling, we don't need as many people at the front desk. If we have bigger cases accepted, we don't need so many dental assistants. And if we do the simple things like collecting in hygiene instead of at the front desk, you see, the amount of work out there at the front desk diminishes greatly. So we can do that with several of these systems. We mentioned the 80-20, and here's something that we know is that 20% of the effort leads to 80% of our results. So we actually, one of the systems that we put in place is a way to evaluate those patients. And of course, we do that very easily. Your software will do it, or we set up an Excel spreadsheet, and we can determine the 20% of patients that contribute to 80% of our income. And so we can do that very easily, and then we can characterize those patients, and that's who we want more of. Now, we've taken the 80-20 rule and taken it a little bit further. We call it the 20-60-20 rule, and this is important. You get 80% of results from 20% of your patients. We call that the top 20. The middle group, the 60%, we call the farm club, and you get 30% of your results or your income there. And then we still have 20% to go, and they cost us 10%. So we let those people go away. We actually let the 10%, or the 20%, we just let them go. People say, well, how do you do that? You quit calling them. You quit calling them, and you quit trying to call their next of kin, their last 3 employers, trying to track them down for one more appointment. They don't want to be in your practice, and when they do come in, they don't do anything anyway. So we just let them go. Tremendous amount of energy is spent on that bottom 20% in most practices and in most businesses. I would rather work on that top 20, so we spend some time with that. So that's kind of an overview of our system analyzer. We look at each individual system, and you can do this. You can look at each system, and I think right now, getting ready to go back, you can download this from our website and analyze each one of these systems and go through in the details of each of these small circles and give yourself a score, 1 to 10, and then you see where you're going to have to improve. Take a look at this and be critical of it, because going back, what I see and what so many of our clients see is that this is an opportunity to push the reset button. This is an opportunity to set the reset button. Your patients are expecting to come back to something slightly different. And so it's a great opportunity. So take advantage of this. Also, we will give you, if you go to our website, we will give you a free book. You can download this book. Go to blatchford.com/free book. And Bringing Your A Game 2.0 is about a dozen dentists. These are real live dentists who have implemented these systems, put them in place, and you can see how it's working in their offices. It's kind of their stories. My wife actually writes these books, and I can talk, and she can write and talk. So all I can do is talk. But anyway, it's a great book, great read, and you can download this free. And we will also send you the 7 principles of highly profitable dentists. And again, these are basically how-tos. There's some real good details in here of how people have made their practice more profitable while taking more time off. And my emphasis always has been this QTR. starting the 4th year in practice, I started taking the month of August off. And I actually learned it in Europe in the summer. My wife and I, we started taking time off while I was in dental school. We took the summer off between 3rd and 4th year. I was ahead in the clinic, and I just decided we're going to take the summer off, and we went to Europe for the summer. And I learned that. I found that so many Europeans do take a month off. Americans work more days per year than I think anybody in the world except China. And so I've been taking a lot of time off my whole career. I took a month off, and people say, well, how do you take a month off? And this is probably your bonus of this webinar that Dr. Shah has put together for you today. Write this down. Pick a month. I picked August. Don't make any appointments in August. It's that simple. Pick a month and don't make any appointments. Now, most of you have just learned, and I've had several clients tell me this who are not taking a month off. They will say that, well, Bill, you've always said I could take a month off, and I just proved it. So I don't think this was the ideal circumstance to take a month off, but it certainly proves you can. And you will recover financially. It'll be just fine. And you took a month off. We had a small sailboat. We took a month off on our sailboat up in the San Juan Islands of Washington, the coast of British Columbia. And of course, we can boat all the way to Alaska, which we do. But it's great. And so I say when the whole thing is over, you're not going to be on your deathbed wishing you'd have worked more days. What is that all about? So this is a quote from John Coyce. We send a lot of clients to John to learn complete treatment, better clinical dentistry, and that sort of thing. And so he sees a lot of our clients, and he sees how much they're able to accomplish in a shorter period of time. Bobby Birdie, of course, has Digital Dentistry Institute, and both these people would be good for your webinar series, Keenor. They're both leaders in dentistry. So if you have questions for us, you can contact me at this number or email and get our free books. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity today to be with you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We really appreciate you joining us. Let me go ahead and put that. You're a true leader, and 4 decades in this, almost 5 now in this space, is quite impressive. Many of us hope that you can be in your shoes someday. From my past podcasts with you, you have had mentioned that you could have retired multiple times over. I know you like fishing and you love dentistry.
Yeah, retirement, retirement's for people that don't like what they're doing. I love what I do. And my daughter now runs the business, and she's been over here with us to go to the studio to do this last 2 days. She's thanked me so many times for doing it. And I said, Christina, you don't have to thank me. It's what I do. It's who I am. I love helping dentists. I love the interaction. I just love to see dentists do well. I think I think it's the best profession in the world. It is so wonderful. We can change people's lives. We can do it and enjoy a lifestyle to support our families and have time to spend with our families. You can't do that in so many things. And in dentistry, it just tremendous reward for us to see dentists able to take the time to enjoy their life as they go along. Enjoy the journey.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, with that said, Dr. Blatchford, I really appreciate your time. A couple of housekeeping stuff. You guys have the links for the daily complimentary webinars. And we wish you guys a wonderful day, and that you join us in the days to come with some of the other leaders and fathers and what have you of dentistry that are coming up in the days to come. Dr. Blatchford, we really thank you for your contribution to this peer-to-peer project. We are currently crossing the 800,000 of our colleagues mark since the last 33 days that have joined us in one capacity or another. And it is the largest healthcare summit that we know of in reaching our doctors and colleagues with material without any hassle of any kind of registration funds and membership and all of that good stuff. And we thank all of our regions as well as our social media peers. And have a nice day, Dr. Blatchford, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thanks so much. I think you've got a great thing going here. I think it's just wonderful. I mean, we were able to do this morning. We had some kind of hiccups this morning technology-wise, but think about it. Neither one of us had to get on an airplane.
Hang on, actually, we have the host wanted to make a couple of comments. He just joined us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blatchford. It was a real honor, and I was looking at the comments, and some was eye-opening. They were commenting eye-opening about what you were saying, that they should apply in their practices. I saw that come when you were talking about interviewing the patient and talking about the fees that that you would actually give them an estimate right up front and see if they were interested before going to the details.
It makes so much sense. Think about it. Anytime you go in to buy something, what's the first thing you want to know?
Absolutely, and that makes sense. And most dentists are shy from that, right? We don't want to, we're doctors. We don't want to, we don't want to say we're salesmen. But I think you're right. I mean, right up front, you tell them what it is, and you see if they're interested. If they're interested, you give them the details. If they're not interested, then, well, that's it. Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Life is short. Life is short.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the people who are interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned a lot from your webinar, and I'm sure our colleagues did as well. And thank you so much for taking time and sharing with us.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.